Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Birds. Today, we are going to be going over our first buy low, sell high video of the fantasy basketball season in 2022. First couple of weeks, we've done some must-add players on the waiver wires that hopefully we were able to take advantage. Some of them, like Nick Claxton, Jalen Smith in Indiana, just two to name, that are doing solid. And even Bruce Brown has some solid spurts here in those deeper leagues. But today's going to be our first buy low, sell high video. Going over 5 guys. I got 2 guys that I want to be buying at this part in the season and 3 that I want to be shipping off our rosters. But I'll have those in the description, timestamps of each player if you want to go skip ahead to those guys. But let me know how you guys are doing this year in fantasy basketball. Currently, I'm 3-0 in my points league and I believe 2-1 in category league. Let me know how y'all are doing so far. And let me know if you agree with these buy low, sell high guys so far up to this point in the season. Dump on me if you don't agree with them. But let's hop into our 5 buy low, sell high video for fantasy basketball. The first guy on this list is someone I want to be buying at this point in fantasy basketball. It's going to be your last chance to get him too. It's Jamal Murray, the point guard for the Denver Nuggets. Now, we know Jamal Murray coming off that serious injury he had 2 years back. I believe it was a torn ACL, kept him out all of last season. And so far, off to a slow start this year as well. The first 5 games, he's only getting around 26 minutes per game, which we know is very unusual for Murray. But we can credit this to the team working him back slowly, and also maybe something to do with the altitude in Denver, getting his wind back underneath him. So coming off this serious injury, we want to allow Murray some time to get back into the rhythm of the game. The first 5 games, we've only seen Murray put up 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. This is not very usual for a Jamal Murray type player. We know an all-star caliber player for this Nuggets team alongside Nikola Jokic. But only 13 points a game in those first 5, something we don't predict moving forward. And we've seen it the last 3 of the last 4 games when he's getting the minutes, 31 minutes per game in 3 of the last 4 contests. And in these games, he's actually averaging around 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, which is more familiar from what we've seen in Murray in the past. We're accustomed to getting around 21, 22 points per game from Murray, so I still think there's room to grow. And this is probably going to be your last opportunity to buy Murray. Like we said, the minutes are already starting to ramp up. Coming off that injury, it looks better and better. If he's able to stay healthy, he's going to get worked more into this offense. We know in years past, he's been around 35 minutes per game, so getting 31 minutes in the 3 of the last 4 is definitely a promising side. It's going to be your last chance to buy Jamal Murray this upcoming season before it's too late. So definitely a guy we want to be keeping on our radar moving forward. Another young guard that we want to be buying is going to be Josh Giddey for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last season in his rookie campaign, one of the best rookie seasons from that class. Very good-looking young point guard for the Thunder alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren moving forward when he comes back. But Giddey, starting off with that ankle injury, limiting his production moving forward. He hasn't looked like the same Giddey that we saw from last season. His field goal percentage isn't that great, around 41%, and the numbers have not progressed in year 2 like we had expected. Some of that is going to be due to the ankle injury he suffered early in the season. He's just been playing poorly in this little spurt of the season. I don't expect that to continue going forward. Last season, Giddey was averaging 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. This season so far, his numbers are pretty similar, but still lower than what he was doing in his rookie year. 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. So it's very similar point totals, but decreasing in the rebounds and assist category. That's not something you expect in a sophomore season. Giddey should be seeing the floor better than he was in his rookie campaign. So I definitely think this is not going to continue. His production is going to increase as he gets that ankle feeling a lot better. He gets more healthy coming into the regular season. A young ascending player like Giddey alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, definitely someone I want to be putting my chips in on and not believing the production we're seeing in the beginning half of the year. Should be a lot better from Giddey going forward. His minutes should ramp up as he gets more confident on that ankle. And definitely someone we want to be keeping in the back of our mind if we're looking to trade for pieces at this current moment in the season. Those are 2 guys I love buying right now in fantasy basketball. Let's talk about 3 guys that I love selling and trading away while their value is about as high as it will get this year. Jrue Holiday is going to be the first sell high candidate. One of my favorite players, Jrue Holiday, is just so great defensively and a bit underrated offensively in my opinion. But definitely a guy I want to be considering trading away this current moment in his age 32 season. His numbers have actually increased in points, rebounds, and assists from a year ago, averaging around 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists last year, while shooting 50% from the floor. And this year, right around 19 points, 6 rebounds, and almost 9 assists as of today. So these numbers are all up across the board except for the field goal percentage, shooting a much lower field goal percentage. Probably less efficient looks he's getting in this offense with Chris Middleton out. But Chris Middleton, with dealing with that wrist injury, he's had a good amount of time to recover from this injury, sent down to the G League last week, so he should be ramping up his production, ramping up back into game shape. and could be back very soon for this Bucks team. Jrue Holiday's been such a great player, and he will be the rest of the season. I'm not saying he's falling off a cliff, but his numbers aren't going to be better than they were last year and his age 32 season. So if you can get any sort of upgrade of what you paid for him in the draft, with Chris Middleton coming back and being that number 2 in the offense, while Jrue Holiday focuses more on the defensive side, picking up the top playmaker in the backcourt for opposing teams, I definitely would not mind considering trading Holiday while he's up in points, rebounds, and assists compared to last season. But as a Jrue Holiday owner, I'm not selling him for just anything. I definitely want to get some very solid compensation back. So I would not mind sitting on Jrue Holiday, as the numbers are going to be fairly consistent, just not as high as we've enjoyed them so far up to this point in the year. But he's going to be our number 1 sell high player with that Chris Middleton, that 50, 40, 90 caliber player coming back to this offense alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo. So if given the ability to trade him for something at his current value, would not mind doing that. The next sell high candidate is going to be Tobias Harris, the power forward for the Philadelphia 76ers. Harris was actually on our must avoid list coming into the year, alongside guys like DeMar DeRozan, whose numbers are down across the board this season for the Bulls. But Harris was on that list given the fact that he's the number 4 offensive threat in his offense behind Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey. And Tobias Harris has shown that he is that number 4 so far this year, until James Harden and Joel Embiid are dealing with injuries and illness for Joel Embiid. So those guys are missing time the last 4 games, both of those guys missing some time. And Tobias Harris has taken advantage of this opportunity in these 4 games that we're not seeing Joel and James Harden, respectively. Harris's field goal attempts are up 25% from what they were in the beginning of the season when all hands were on deck and they had a healthy roster. And with that increase in field goal attempts due to the injuries, he's taken advantage of it and putting up some pretty solid numbers in his last 4 contests, averaging 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. This is a huge upgrade to where he was in the beginning of the season, like we talked about when all guys were healthy, where he was only averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. We can expect these numbers to continue to be solid as these guys miss time, but Joel Embiid's already back from that illness, and James Harden will be back in a month, so you can wait out this James Harden injury and soak up the value from Tobias Harris that he's going to receive from Harden not being on the floor. But once Harden comes back, Tobias Harris is going to revert back to that role, number 4 in the offense, where we can't rely on him to put up any sort of fantasy production. So if you're able to sell him while James Harden's out, and now that Joel Embiid is back in the offense, I would be all over that deal, selling him in a heartbeat, with the realization that come playoff time in fantasy basketball, when this team is fully healthy, he's not going to be providing much numbers at all. So if you do have Tobias Harris, you can either enjoy the ride while Harden is out and get that usage up. His numbers should be pretty effective in the short term, but in the long term, definitely a guy I want to be trading before the going gets rough in Philadelphia for Harris. Another guy we were heavily fading this season in fantasy basketball coming into our drafts was Julius Randle, the forward for the New York Knicks. The last 2 games, Julius Randle has actually been on a massive tear. Nearly 30 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. Not very attractive assist numbers from Randle, what we've expected over the last 2 seasons, but the points are off the charts. This is due to him shooting over 50% from the last 2 games from the three-point line, 11 of 20 in his last 2 games shooting threes. We know Julius Randle is not very effective from the three-point line. We can't expect him to shoot over 50% going forward the rest of the season. But outside of these 2 games, first 7 to 8 games of the regular season, he's been around 18 points per game, down from his averages last year. And this has a lot to do with Jalen Brunson, why we love Jalen Brunson coming into the year, because he's going to control that offense. His assists, his points numbers are up across the board like we expected for Brunson. And with this emergence from Jalen in this Knicks offense, Julius has really struggled assist-wise. The last 2 seasons, around 5.5 to 6 assists from Randle. This year, just getting 3 assists per game. So with that usage coming down, Randle's fantasy basketball production has come down. And without this 3-point effectiveness, the last 2 games we've seen from him, the points have been disappointing as well. So I wouldn't mind trading Julius Randle, a big name in fantasy, while you have that production sitting on him from the last 2 games where he put up 30 points a night in his last 2 contests. So if you're able to trade him, get somebody excited about Randle from what he's been the last 2 years in New York, a great player for the Knicks. I'm not taking anything away from him. I would not mind dishing him out as well. But those are going to be our 5 buy low, sell high fantasy basketball candidates. First video of the year that we've put out on this. Like we talked about, we've been doing a lot of waiver wire stuff with some new roles emerging in certain offenses. But that's going to be our first episode. We're going to have plenty of more coming out. Let me know if you agree with these names or disagree. Let me know. Dump all over me in the comment section about it. I do not mind. But we want to be buying Jamal Murray and Josh Giddey. And if we can get some decent value for Jrue Holiday, Tobias Harris, and Julius Randle, definitely, guys, I would not mind selling Jrue Holiday and Julius Randle. I'm not selling for just anything. I think they're going to have value going forward. just not the value that we've seen them hold to this point in the season. Tobias Harris, I think, is a clear sell with James Harden coming back in a month. His value is going to significantly lower than what it is now. So definitely a guy at all costs I'm getting off my roster by the end of James Harden's absence with that injury. That's all I got for today. Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Fantasy Birds, and we'll see you guys next week with another episode.